Fly this plane, and I'll marry you. That's what Trent Marlowe shouted from the mezzanine, while his friends filmed and howled the kind of laugh that cuts like broken glass. I was mopping the floor at Red Rock Executive Airfield name tag, straight rubber gloves on a paycheck that held my daughter's medication, together with hope, but the truth was I knew the smell of a cockpit when the panels warm and the avionics tick alive. I knew the exact weight of a throttle in a shaking hand. I knew what it felt like to bring people home. Trent leaned on the rail like he owned gravity, waving his phone, tossing out a bet about his Falconer X9 and a quick hop to Sierra Vista and back. If I got him there, he'd marry me. If I didn't, I was done. Yeah, that happened, and everyone laughed like a laugh track. Before I was a cleaner, I was Captain Serena Miles with the Air National Guard medevac, and cargo into places where the runway was half gravel and the other half fear. But the uniform on my back now said janitorial. The insurance on my wallet said basic, and my little girl Jade had a heart murmur that doesn't care how proud you used to be. So I swallowed the heat and said what my old commander drilled into me until it lived in my bones. In the air, you are not your pay grade or your paperwork. In the air, you are competence, and competence does not lie. I looked Trent in the eyes and said, I accept not a joke, not a flinch, just the words, and the room found out how heavy silence can be. If we're doing this, we do it by the book, I told him. I'm not taking a human life into the air for a stunt, he smirked and said. It's my book, Google the ignition if you need to. And I walked to the jet with the kind of calm you build on 3 a.m. shifts and overdue bills. The cabin smelled like money, pretending to be air. The cockpit felt like a childhood street you find again after a long absence. Battery on pumps, on bus tie check. I moved with a rhythm, my hands remembered. Even when my life forgot outside on the hangar floor, faces gathered, mechanics and line techs and the front desk. Kid who always slid me an extra granola bar, and Owens, an old crew chief with a limp and a cap that said Owens in sun-faded thread arms, crossed eyes on my hands, not my face. I keyed the mic, read, Rock Tower Falconer, Niner Niner, 7 Sierra, Mike IFR pickup to Sierra Vista, and return ready to copy. The controller answered clean and quick. I read it back, smooth. The avionics chimed. Someone outside went, No way, she just did that. Trent slid into the right seat, jacket draped like a flag. Don't scratch my plane, he said. Your ego makes a bigger dent, I said, quiet as a secret. Owens tilted his chin like he'd heard me and liked the tune. Taxi out, desert scrub, beyond the fence like green stubble on a tan jaw, mountains to the south. Wearing a storm, the color of an old bruise, wind, 210 at 9. Cleared for takeoff, throttles forward, until the engines sang. In my teeth, power set, airspeed alive. 80 knots, V1 rotate. We jumped, then we flew, ground, falling away like an old promise finally kept. And the only sound out of Trent was oh. Up top, the air smoothed into that soft hum good machines make when everything is where it belongs. Departure handed us up. We leveled for a minute on a table of cloud, bright as a polished coin, and company frequency crackled. Most shops leave it open for fuel and crew cars and gossip. But all I heard was Owens ground ops. How copy, I smiled. 5 by 5, chief. Then the beat, then the word that shifted the whole day on its axis, safe skies. Captain and I kept my eyes forward, because crying in a climb is a bad look. Trent heard the word and tried to turn it into a joke. Spirit Airlines, huh? I told him. Guard rescue and cargo, a lot of people who needed getting home. Why are you mopping floors? He asked. It like a boy asks why stars move. Because the world pays better for stories about men like you than for good pilots who step away to be a mom, I said. Because benefits are a math problem and dignity is not. You know what I mean? He didn't have a quip for that. His phone buzzed like a wasp nest and he finally shut it off. And I felt the cockpit get quiet. In that way a room does when the loudest person realizes the room doesn't need him. We dropped into Sierra Vista Featherlight. A line tech handed me 2 waters. Like I'd just finished a marathon, we turned and climbed back out. And on the way home, the radio got busy with voices from the hangar dispatch and maintenance and the front desk, all talking at once, "Bring that plane home." "Serena, we're making signs," and I could feel the ground getting ready for us. Approach cleared us to descend through that smug cloud. The runway slid under the nose like a ribbon being pulled. The tires kissed, the reversers whispered. "Welcome back, 7 Sierra Mike," and on the ramp, there were more people than when we left, mechanics and cleaners and a couple of pilots with sunglasses on their hats, plus a handful of veterans in old jackets and older posture cardboard signs in bold marker. Fly higher respect is not a luxury mops and wings. A tiny speaker playing a beat you could march to if your feet remembered how. I shut her down and stepped into a clatter of phones and applause that didn't sound ironic anymore. Owens lifted his cap 2 inches and called me ma'am, the way men do when they mean it. Navarro in a dusty flight jacket told Trent, "You don't get to stain this field with that." And Trent tried to smile the market into forgetting funds over. "You did surprisingly fine. Let's not blow this out of proportion." Then Patricia Hahn from the board walked out with 2 suits that smelled like court calendars and said, "The emergency session is concluded. Effective immediately, you are suspended. The market can weather storms. It cannot weather contempt." And the way he said, "You can't," and the way she could told the rest of the story. It would be easy to gloat to make a moment that loops forever. But real life has more rooms, and in another room that afternoon, I sat across from Miguel Aragon of Orion Skyworks, sleeves rolled up a pen behind his ear, like a teacher about to be kind and firm. He laid out numbers and title and a thing I hadn't let myself want in a long time. Mission: build a pipeline for veterans and women, and people who aged out of dreams because a bill came due. Build training that starts with competence and ends with access. Will you build that with me? He asked. And my chest felt the same, yes, as the first time a tower said cleared to land. I told him I needed a day. He said, "Take 2, I texted Owens. He sent a thumbs up and a photo of the coffee machine we both hated. "We'll upgrade this promise," and I laughed in a way that let the morning out of my ribs. The internet did what it does. The video ran through 1,000 hands. Some lifted it like a flag, and some swung it like a hammer. A congresswoman retweeted a morning show called a #bloomed, and then went looking for the next dry field. And strangers wrote to say they were going back to school at 40. Because sometimes a story gives you permission you didn't know you needed. A week later, Orion held a press conference in a hangar that smelled like fresh paint and hope they said my name and my title. Director of Flight Access and Standards microphones leaned. A reporter asked if I had anything to say to Trent, and I could have twisted the knife, but I said the thing that lets me sleep. He handed me a key without knowing what it opened. He thought it opened a door for him. It opened a runway for me. I hope he learns from it. I am learning too. He issued an apology, later, not perfect but human around the edges. He stepped back. Some clients came back and some didn't. The market does what the market does, and I went home and cleaned my own kitchen floor because Saturday is still Saturday, and a mop fits my hand the way a yoke does. You guide it, you aim for the corners, you don't miss the edges because dirt loves an edge. At Orion, we started with 12 students, the syllabus. I always needed a chief instructor who smells like hydraulic fluid and laughs like an engine. Start a sign over the door that says competence does not lie. And Jade draws flight paths in glitter pen at the table while I practice saying out loud that I am both things without apology, cleaner and captain, mother and director, all of it true at once. You want a movie ending where he loses everything and I win everything. But here's the honest version: he lost a big chunk. and I won the peace I needed. That feels about right. On a Wednesday, when the coffee is good, and my kid is humming, and if you ask whether the drag was fair or too far, I'll tell you this. Jokes are maps. They show you exactly where someone's headed. And when a joke exposes contempt, we have to decide what justice should look like. Mercy has a seat at the table. So does consequence, you know what I mean? Your turn was what happened to Trent Fair, or did it go too far when a joke reveals something mean under it? What should accountability look like in the real world? Have you seen a room change when power finally got checked? Drop your take in the comments, tell me where you're watching from, and if you stand with quiet competence, type fly higher. So this story finds the next person who needs it.